participating in the meeting, is that correct? Okay, well, I'll go this way. I see Mr. Davis, I see Mr. Golden, I see Mr. Ritz, Mr. Grove, and Ms. Bielabaki. We have Ms. Shaw, the mayor is there. Mr. Sweeney, Ms. Willits, we see Mr. Burns. We have Mr. Shaw and an iPhone. I don't know the iPhone, I'm afraid.
Also, Deputy Whitehouse is here.
Oh, very good. Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, so Mr. Mayor, from my end, by my determination, we have everybody here for the meeting to begin. So are you on board with that? Can we move forward, sir?
Yes, sir. Take a...
Very good. Okay, thank you. All right, at this time, I call to order the Monday, January 11th, 2021 Town of Emmitsburg meeting. We now move to our Pledge of Allegiance. I'll put this up. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America
and to the republic that stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Terrific. Okay. Thought we'd work the flag in this evening. All right. Definitely there's a need for it. Okay. Before we discuss future meetings, the mayor is going to bring forward information related to the COVID numbers for our community. Mr. Mayor?
All right. Thank you very much. Some good news. Some people have already received their $600 checks, which have been directly deposited to their accounts. So be looking for that and checking your account balances as that goes on. We have had a spike. The demand for ICU beds is up. Acute beds demand is up. Total beds is slightly up, a little flatter. But we yesterday had confirmed cases in the state were 309,686. 3,000, that's a change of 3,012. 6,129 deaths. That's the 24-hour change was 29 people. In the county, we have 12,937 positive cases, 201 deaths. In our zip code, our caseload confirmed cases is 266 in our zip code. Please be on guard, wear your mask, social distance, and with regard to the vaccine, I believe maybe Commissioner Frank can say he already got a shot, but I think we're already starting that process, and the nursing home they've got their shots. They're in phase 1A. Phase 1B will end of January, and that will be for adults over 75 years old. And phase 1C projected to start in March, and that is 65 to 74 age bracket. I've checked with the county, we're trying to see if we can get a more convenient facility than the Frederick Health Hospital for giving shots, and we are looking into providing transportation for elderly people. We will work on that. That is a primary concern to make sure everybody gets vaccinated. Thank you, Mr. O'Donnell.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, we now turn to item number 3, future meetings, pardon me. The Planning Commission will meet on Monday, January 25th at 7:30 p.m. This will occur via Zoom. Our next town meeting will again be virtual. It will occur on February 1st at 7:30 p.m. It will be available via Zoom and on Channel 99. We turn now to item number 4, our minutes from the December 8th meeting. Are there any modifications, enhancements, changes that the board would like to see related to the December 8th town meeting minutes? Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
I make a motion to accept the meeting minutes as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Motion's been made by Commissioner Burns, seconded by Commissioner Sweeney. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody against? No? Very good. All right. Thank you. We now turn to the police report from our Deputy White House. Good evening, Deputy.
Good evening, everyone. How is everybody?
Good, thank you.
Deputy White House with the Frederick County Sheriff's Office. This is the December 2020 report. Also yearly totals. So let's see here. For the 911 calls, we had 197 total for the year. I think we looks like we responded to those, and suspicious vehicles, activity, people. We had 70 of those, which is good because that means people are calling in complaints about suspicious people and stuff like that. Actually, very helpful to us. With COVID and all, the proactive numbers that we like to see up are pretty low. Just try to minimize contact with us and the public. So for the traffic stops we had for the year, we had like 500 and looks like 17. Traffic arrests we had 21. Criminal arrests we had one criminal arrest. I think that was a burglary. We served 6 warrants. And we did 3 criminal summons. We served those. And if I'm not mistaken, also I believe we served 3 search and seizure warrants at various locations. Make it 4 search and seizure warrants for the year up here in town. For the back of here, the additional information. We're doing some checks over at the Mount St. Mary's at the request of their Director of Public Safety. So we're doing some checks, us as well as the patrol, the north cars up here. So we had 13 of those. We had a 1 natural death in town in December. Myself and Sergeant Linehan attended the Christmas tree lighting ceremony, and I prepared and presented the town report for last month. So no, there's not a whole lot. It's pretty simple. Is there any questions for me at this point?
One question for Deputy White House, if that's okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Hey, I think I heard the mayor ask you something about an explosion on Saturday night. I know it's the second one that has been talked about in town. The other one was back in December. I believe it was on December 6th. I know there was a call out for an officer to go check up on Old Gettysburg Road, right on the Pennsylvania line in Frederick County, though. I don't know if you had heard anything else additional about that or knew anything about that.
I do not know. I know that, we all know the firework places up there maybe has something to do with the fireworks place up there, or, I'm not sure if I didn't see any calls from the fire service come across my phone, so I guess they didn't respond to anything as well.
No, that's fine. I knew it. I got a bunch of text messages about it, and people said the windows were rattled again for the second time in a month. I believe someone called 911, and they sent an officer up there. So I didn't know if you had heard anything about it yet.
No, I'll look into it, and I'll let you know. I'll just make a note here to look into it tomorrow, and then I'll just try to contact you and let you know.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Also, real quick, I guess people can see me, but this is our new uniform we're going to be wearing. So it's the khaki pants and I guess the OD green, forest green color. So this is going to be the uniform people are going to see us in. Hope you like it. So, anything else for me?
No, sir. Not that I'm aware of. Anybody else with a question? It's good to see our sheriff's office are slaves to fashion,
Well, appreciate that. Have a good evening, everybody.
Sure.
All right.
Good evening, sir. Thank you. Be well. Be safe. Okay, we now turn to our next agenda item. That is the town manager's report. We turn to Ms. Willits.
Good evening. This will be the manager's report for November of 2020. I'll just go over some key items related to streets. Staff put up Christmas decorations around town, as well as in front of the community center building. They also cold patched some potholes around town. and staff put up flags on streetlight poles around the square for Veterans Day. Related to parks, we continue to sanitize the playground equipment twice a week. Staff winterized the restroom buildings, Little League concession stand, and the dog park. The contractor striped the parking lots at ball field number 1 and 3 in Community Park. And staff cut up the dugout roof at ball field number 6, which was damaged by a storm. And related to water, this is all in November. In November, the Rainbow Lake was 2.9 feet below the spillway level. And that was as of November 30th of 2020. All the wells were turned on in November in an effort to trim the lake quota down. MDE requires us to stay with under a certain number of gallons taken out of the lake each year. Related to water, we produced an average of 243,219 gallons per day and consumed 231,363 gallons. The difference being 15.4%, which is backwash water. In the month of November, we purchased 415,700 gallons from the Mount. In reference to wastewater, we treated an average of 475,000 gallons per day and consumed 231,363 gallons per day, which means that 51.3% of the wastewater treated was wild water. We had no spills of untreated sewage in the month of, that should be November. We did exceed the plant's design capacity twice in the month of December, once on November 11th and once on November 30th. We received 4.0 inches of rain in November. However, we continue to have a deficit of 5.05 inches over the last 6 months. Trash pickup will remain Mondays in the month of January. Highlighted some of the meetings I attended. Under noteworthy, staff responded to an unauthorized draw from a fire hydrant on South Seaton Avenue. Staff was able to locate the offending vehicle, which was a landscape company. The company was fined $500. It was sent to court and the fine was doubled, and the landscaping company paid the fine in the amount of $1,000 today. With significant rain and snow in the month of December, the lake was brought back to the spillway level. So now we're back at the 16.6 feet at Rainbow Lake, and our wells are continuing to improve. And that's all I have for the manager's report.
Are there any questions for the manager related to her report? Regarding the landscaping vehicle that illegally pulled the water, were there any consequences to the water system? For example, colored water, or rather discolored water, or anything of that nature?
No, we didn't have any significant consequences from it.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Hearing no more questions, therefore I'll move on. We now turn to the town planner's report.
Hello, everybody. This is the planner's report for November. I'm also going to highlight some key items. I reviewed 4 COVID-19 round 2 grant applications. I prepared the December meeting items, as you can see below there. I did some municipal parking lot research. Under grants, community legacy, and Chesapeake Bay Trust grant management, I applied for $1.38 million in next round state of Maryland bond grants funds with Senator Delegate Cox and Delegate Pippy for the proposed water clarifier. I worked on the community development block grant application. I submitted a community legacy reimbursement request and a community legacy application. Under MS4, Silo Hill Stormwater Management Basin Retrofit Project Management. Under permits and zoning, processed 8 zoning permit applications, 3 backflow preventer applications, responded to various incident reports. Under planning commission, various project management, as you can see, all the projects that are active right now. Received the SPT Land LLC and Maryland State Highway Administration addition plat and reviewed that. I also received the revised Miss B Child Care site landscaping and lighting plans, reviewed and created a staff memo on that. received the revised Irishtown Road Improvement Plat, reviewed and created staff memo on that. Conducted a final inspection on the Insurance Brokers of Maryland office. It's a beautiful building. If you guys could ever get a chance to look in there. Attended the Planning Commission meeting on the 30th, and under miscellaneous, Forestry Stand 6 project management, and just various meetings and various miscellaneous things. So that's my report.
Great, thank you, sir. Are there questions for the planner at this time? No? Mr. Golden, related to the annexation and development questions regarding North Seaton Avenue and Annandale Road parcels, is
Yes.
there any activity beyond just inquiries?
No, it's just very preliminary questions such as, how many houses can go there? What are the requirements? What kind of roads have to go in? Stuff like that. Simple things.
Terrific. Okay, well, that's hopefully good to see. Win hopes. All right. Any
President
other
O'Donnell,
questions? Yes, sir.
yeah, President O'Donnell, follow up with your questions, obviously, about the developments up there. I know I was contacted about the future development of South Seaton or Southgate as well, and putting some homes in there. I guess there's a new builder who's going to attempt to try to come in there again for, I think this is the third or fourth time now in 5 years.
Right.
It'll be very interesting to see what happens. I know I talked to Mr. Golden about it. He and I went back and forth about the pricing and what might come from that, but would love to see some of that development as well.
Yeah, that's exciting. Absolutely. That's good news. Terrific. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Burns. So from there, we now turn to commissioner comments. Commissioner Ritz.
Thank you. I don't have too much, just it's a new year. Happy New Year to everybody. Hopefully things will get better in town, state, and our country. I'm just feeling positive. Hopefully things will go okay and kick this COVID in the butt and be done with it. Thanks to town staff for all they did during the snowfall back in December. I think that was the most snow we've had total in like 3 years. Everything looked good. Just a reminder to everybody, though, not to be parking where you shouldn't be during snowfall. Just keep things cleaned off better. Other than that, that's pretty much it.
Great. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Burns.
Yes, thank you. I just follow up with Commissioner Ritz said, Happy New Year to everyone. Hope everybody had a happy holiday, enjoyed their Christmas. I will say I'm very impressed with what I've seen around Emmitsburg as far as everybody, as Governor Hogan says, wear their damn mask. I'm all over the state on any given day, Cumberland, Laurel, Southern Maryland. And I will say we have a lot more people in our area wearing their masks and doing their best to fight COVID. Hopefully we can get through this and get our teachers vaccinated and get all of our students back in school as soon as possible so that we can return to some sense of normalcy and get our younger residents back to normal as soon as possible as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Davis.
Good evening, everybody. I was lucky enough today to receive my first vaccine. No side effects. Everything is good. Go back in 28 days to get the second shot. And I tell you, I really, really encourage. Of course, I can't guarantee anybody that they're not going to get sick from it. But from what I have seen on the fire department side from this first round and this second round of the virus, it is really, really taking a toll on people. As you can hear from the deaths that we've had in our communities, the elderly, it's really, really hitting them hard, and we kind of feel helpless. So, if I have any side effects, I will be sure to let the community know. but I really encourage people to get out and get that vaccine. It's right now it's the only thing we have to slow this thing down. And the fire department is just running ragged, and we're trying to get to everybody, and so whatever anybody can do to help in the cause, I really recommend it. And also with the police, the last couple weeks we've had a police officer working some night work, which is kind of nice when you come back. Either get up early in the morning, you come back off a call at night, and see a police officer sitting on the square. And I'm sure I sure don't want Deputy Whitehouse to say, "Oh, I got to go to midnights." Where I'm going with this, I think in future budgets, we should really, really, really try to get that third police officer. I know we don't have a high crime rate at night, but I think to try to keep it that way, it's very reassuring to see that police car sitting on the square in the middle of the night. So that's all I got.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Sweeney.
Yes, I also wish everyone a happy new year. I didn't have too much going on in December. I wanted to let everyone know that my wife and I had both had COVID in December, 2 weeks before Christmas. We didn't get severe that we had to go to the hospital, but we did get really bad flu symptoms. So we was able to get through it without major complications. But being locked in your house for 2 weeks straight without going anywhere is a lot. I can imagine people off work and have to be home all the time. I wouldn't be able to do that. But I encourage everyone to get a shot too and get rid of this vaccine, get this virus done. Get the vaccine as soon as you can get it. It's going through the St. Joe's now. We have a lot of patients and staff at St. Joe's nursing home here in town. It's going through there pretty rapidly. So hopefully we don't have too many deaths at St. Joe's. So just pray for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'll jump in and I'll just say in simplest terms, this past week this past week we witnessed the fragile nature of democracy. And what we do at our level in our town, sometimes sleepy small town, I hate that description, but the reality of what we do is just the most fundamentally important thing in making our democracy function. And we are certainly imperfect and flawed in our efforts at times, but it's this process that we adhere to that makes us stewards for our community. As volunteers and those who choose to be out there as elected and staff, it's profoundly important what we do, and that we try to do our best to do it well. And my hat's off to each and every one of us. I know that we all work very hard at this to do this the right way, and my personal goal is to see us be constant and protect what is so precious about our democracy. I'll leave it at that, but thank you for your indulgence. I turn to Mr. Mayor, Mayor Briggs.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner. Just a couple of remarks. As you can see I guess you can see we're set up to have a meetings in here at some time in the future, but with the second surge, we're tightening up a little bit and restricting all guests, and we have work being done here, construction work, but we have to protect our staff. I understand Thermont has gone back to something we never stopped, where we're rotating our staff. They've gone back to that. Again, we're up to 266 cases. We were at around 26 cases back in August, and so this is very serious. Take it serious. Take care of your elderly, and wear your mask and distance as much as you can. Again, the building is closed, the county building. I hope to start this week or next week with the weekly YouTube COVID updates. It's just that during the last couple of months with the holidays and everybody moving and traveling and everything, it was not considered a propitious thing to do. I want to thank our new businesses, Dunkin' Donuts, Insurance Brokers of Maryland, and our new daycare soon to open for joining us for this 2021 year. We have, seems like we always have a bellwether, and Rudders was the one. When is that going to be? With the bridge, it was the bridge. And then we've gotten that done, and Rudders has met all their site approvals, and they still have to get their building documents taken care of, but that's on the way. Milani Shed is finally out of the way up there by Jubilee. We're working on a plan along Flat Run to grade with the property owner about grading that. But there's always going to be something else, and it's going to be the Irishtown Road, which will be closed for a while we're making adjustments to a precise distancing there as the development of Brookville finishes out. This will allow two-way traffic finally at the backside there from Brookville Drive to Irishtown Road. Ryan Holmes is doing very well. I was out there this weekend, and from what I understand, they have 3 houses that are already sold and other contracts under consideration. They really haven't opened sales, but it's coming along, and it's a very good thing for the development of the town. And they could possibly be a candidate for Southgate too with those lots. Maybe since they're up here, that could also happen too. We're in for a bunch of grants this year. We've got $30,000 for 2 mini picnic pavilions to be located in Community Park, and the upper part of that, a bandstand renovation, Memorial Park, ball field number 7 bleacher replacement, community gardens rehab. We're going to get refunded on some of our disc golf construction work, and we've got another level of Wayside exhibits we're looking at, and also we're going to start with Waterline replacement grants for engineering. So there's a lot going on in this little town. I want to tell you one thing that was really good news is there's an organization called onlyinurstate.com, onlyinurstate.com. They do every state, and our town was listed as one of the 10 most beautiful, charming, small towns in Maryland. Thank everybody, commissioner, staff, and all our people live here to be recognized like that. And that was brought to my attention by a former mayor of our town. I didn't know he was a former mayor, but Ralph Ireland. So again, we're one of the 10 most beautiful, charming towns in Maryland, and that goes out all across the country. Thank you, Mr. O'Donnell.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Briggs. We turn now to item G, public comments, and for this I turn to staff. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment at this time?
Staff did not receive any.
Okay, thank you. All right, so with that having been said, we press on to administrative business. This is the announcement of the 2020 Holiday House and Business Decorating Contest winners. And Mr. Briggs, again, we turn to you, sir.
Maddie, do you have that?
Yep.
Maddie's going to handle that, Commissioner. Thank you.
You want me to do it?
Thank you.
I thought you wanted to do it.
I don't have. Do I have the list here? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's in your packet.
Okay, hold on a sec. I apologize. What page is that?
It is page 15.
Okay, here we go. Congratulations to everybody who participated in this. The town looked beautiful, and as you see, we're going up and down South Seaton and North Seaton and along Main Street, As our budget permits, we're extending further each year up west and east Main Street. So there'll be more decorations next year. But we have our holiday home and business decorating contest winners. First prize is $75, second prize $50, third prize $25. First prize was for most traditional was 1315 Huntley Circle, the Seton family. Second place 115 DePaul Street, Shorb family. Third place 115 East Main Street, Schmersel family. Congratulations to those families. Most creative, first place 1303 Huntley Circle, Rogers family. Second, 217 East Main Street, Wants family. Third, 2008 2008 Academy Court, Tom's family. Congratulations to those families. Best business, first place, My Father's Footsteps. Second, Carriage House Inn. Third, E Plus Copy. Again, thank you to everybody for participating, and let's do it again next year. It was a lot of fun. Town looked beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We now turn our attention to the donation to the Thurmont Little League for consideration. Commissioner Davis, sir?
Yep, I changed my screen a little bit. Sorry about that. I talked with the Little League. They're looking to raise $20,000 to send 17 kids and coaches to Cooperstown to participate in a once-in-a-lifetime tournament. Some of those children will be Emmitsburg kids. So that's the amount of money they're looking to raise. I did try to get a hold of the town manager in Thurmont to find out what they were doing and how much they were going to do. I don't know if he might have got back to anyone there in the office or not.
I haven't heard from him.
You haven't heard from him? I talked to the chief financial officer, and she was going to get a hold of
Okay.
Jimmy Humrick, and hopefully somebody was going to get back to us. That's what they're looking at. I don't know how much we can put in there. I'm looking for staff to help us out there.
If the board has an idea of how much they would like to donate, and then I can take a look at the budget and see where the monies might be available to pull from, that would be helpful.
Is the team made up of Thurmont, Emmitsburg, and like local to North Frederick County?
Yes, it'll be like an all-star team out of the Thurmont Little League. So the last all-star team that did so well actually had six kids from Emmitsburg that participated on that team. So
That's awesome. Does anybody have a number in mind they'd like staff to investigate?
I don't have a number. I was just going to ask Commissioner Davis, is there a particular figure that he was looking for?
no, not really. I was hoping maybe that Kathy would tell us that we have, what kind of a figure we have that we can throw at it. It's kind of like it's see who catches the ball, right?
Right.
Ms. Willits, any thoughts?
I know we could definitely find $1,000. If you're looking for more, 1,500, probably can find that within the budget somewhere along the line. If more than that, I'll have to dig around. I'm just looking for some guidance. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we donated some funds several years ago for one of the teams to go to a tournament. And if I recall correctly, I think it was $1,000 or maybe $1,500 that the board decided to donate. If somebody remembers that.
Yeah, I thought it was the higher figure, 1,500 or more, to tell you the truth. would it be possible to look for, in a perfect world, $2,000? Does that seem
Yeah,
excessive?
I mean, if you give me
to
an
the
amount to
board?
find, go ahead.
Does that seem excessive to the board or too little? I mean, we want to accommodate, but at the same time, we have to be even-handed, but
How about if we throw 1,000 at them and see where they are? I don't know how their fundraising effort is going. What if we throw 1,000 and if they come up short, we can, go back to them. I can talk to the president and say, hey, look, if you need more, let us know, and see how that goes.
Mr.
okay.
President,
Yes, sir.
the Sons of the American Legion have a community fund. We weren't able to have our fishing derby for the last 2 years because of COVID. I'm sure we could match the funds that the town puts up. I'm pretty sure we have about 5,000 in that fund for the fishing derby, but it is for all community events for the children of Emmitsburg. That's what it's for, in the community. So I'm pretty sure I can match the funds the town put up. So whatever the town can find, we'll see if we can match it.
Fantastic. So, Ms. Willits, so far we're looking at 1,000 or 15? I lost track. I'm sorry. Mr. Davis, you said 1,000. Is that correct?
I thought if we started 1,000 and then be willing to come back if needed.
Okay. Is there a motion or any further discussion prior to a motion?
I think if we put 1,000 up and the Sons of the American Legion are willing to match that at 1,000, I think we're getting them 10% of the way there already before they even reach out to any local businesses, families, or anything of that nature. I think that's very generous on the town's part to get them started with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
the American Legion donated the stuff for the concession stands to start for the Little League last year. We have money to give back that the Sons have, so we're willing to give that back.
Great. Any other thoughts? Okay, so is there a motion to support the Thurmont Little League with $1,000 for their Cooperstown tournament trip?
I'll make that a motion.
I'll
Thank you,
second
sir.
the
Is there a
motion.
second? The motion's been made by Commissioner Davis, seconded by Commissioner Burns. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. The motion carries 5-0. Terrific. Thank you. We now move on to our consent agenda item. For clarification, we see that a name has been withdrawn related to the Planning Commission. So we're just going to be looking for an appointment of Dr. Levi Esses as an alternate to the Board of Appeals. The term would go from this evening through January 11th, 2024. And as this is a consent agenda item, we just go directly to vote without comment. So is there a motion for this appointment?
Aye.
So moved.
Okay, the motion has been made by Commissioner Davis, seconded by Commissioner Burns. Did I hear that correctly on the Zoom?
I didn't know if we had to. I thought you said we were going directly to vote. I didn't know we had to make a motion on it.
Yeah, we're going to vote. Could you second it?
I'll second it.
Thank you, sir. Well done. All right. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anybody
Aye.
against? Okay.
Okay.
And I will have to abstain due to a conflict of interest. So the motion carries 4-0 with one abstention, and that would be Commissioner O'Donnell.
Commissioner Donald?
Yes, sir.
We do have a recommendation for the Planning Commission, but we haven't advertised it. So we will go through that, and we will probably make it'll be on the February agenda.
Well, that's terrific. Okay, thank you, sir. That's good news. Okay, we now turn to item J, the treasurer's report.
Yes, the treasurer's report for December of 2020. Our current cash, or the cash balance as of December 1st, 2020 was 5,475,628. We had total deposits of 294,214. We had withdrawals in the amount of 358,847, which left us with an operating balance forward at 5,410,995. The top 10 check amounts written and signed during that time period are listed below. And if there are any questions that I cannot answer, which would be a couple, town staff would be able to answer them for you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for town staff? Very good. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. We now turn to the Planning Commission report.
Mr. President, I'm going to defer to Zach. The Planning Commission did meet on December 28th, and I was not in attendance for that meeting, so I'm going to hand it over to Zach for an update. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. So the Planning Commission did meet in December. We reviewed and recommended Ordinance 21-01, which we will talk about later in this meeting. And I'll go over those recommendations at a later time, if that's okay. And we also approved the SPT Land LLC and Maryland State Highway Administration addition plat. Basically, with that one, there was a irregular lot in front of the proposed park and ride and the proposed rudders. Basically, what happened was that was subdivided, and then those two portions of land went to the appropriate either rudders or the park and ride. So they now have full frontal on Tiny Town Pike. Both were approved. And that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Regarding the park and ride, we know Rudders is moving forward based on what the mayor shared tonight. Do we have any timeline related to the creation of the park and ride?
Yeah, sure. I actually I reached out to SHA probably 2-3 weeks ago just to try to see the status, and they told me that due to COVID, they had to postpone the design of it. They're about 15% done of the design phase. So other than that, they couldn't give me any timelines. It's the back burner project because there are more important projects such as road paving and bridges that take precedence. So I wish I could give you more information, but that's all they told me.
Thank you, sir. Hard to believe we're on a back burner in Emmitsburg. That would be me being sarcastic. All right. It doesn't make me happy when I hear organizations say that we're a low priority. Sure. Okay. We now turn to agenda item number 1. And this is the review and approval of the fiscal year 2021 MHAA Wayside exhibits for consideration, and a presentation here this evening related to the 4 placards. And our long-term goal is to create an historic walking tour for town. All right, Mr. Golden, I'll turn that to you. Is that correct?
Actually, Ms. Shaw.
Ms. Shaw, sorry, my apologies. Thank you. Ms. Shaw, yes.
Sorry, I had to switch seats for a second. I'm just going to do a quick introduction, and then Ruth Bilbaki with Ion Design and Scott Grove with Grove Public Relations is going to do the presentation. Let's see. So as Commissioner O'Donnell said, we got another round of grant money from the Maryland Heritage Areas Authority. This amount was in $12,054, and that's for another 4 exhibits. One will be on St. Joseph's House, and that is 50% funded by the Daughters of Charity, and that will be placed along South Seaton Avenue. The next one will be the Volunteers Glass Etching, and that will be out front of the Emmitsburg Community Center, and that is also paid 50% by the Fire Museum. And then we will have one on the Emmitsburg Railroad, and that will also be along South Seaton Avenue. And then lastly, the John Armstrong one on the American Rifle, and that will be on East Main Street. And we have some pictures on the slide to show you. Ruth and Scott, feel free to take it away.
Okay, Maddie, will you be putting the PDFs up on the screen, or is everyone referencing their printouts?
Tell her I have it on the screen. Sorry. Yes, I'll be putting it on the screen.
Okay, great. Okay, so I would assume that all of you've had some time to take a look at the layouts before the meeting. If you haven't and you need time to read, please let us know. When we work on these projects with both the town and any associated partners, we meet with them to discuss the goals of the project, and we come up with a plan. So for this particular one, we did work with staff at the Seton Shrine regarding content, and this has been approved by them, but we are looking forward to hearing your comments on this. And Scott, if there's anything you want to say about it, please chime in.
For the sake of clarification, Scott, are you representing the daughters, the sign manufacturer, or what's your role in the project?
So Scott and I partner together. So I'm the designer.
Oh, very good. Okay, very good.
Yeah, he's the writer planner.
The emphasis,
okay, very good.
the emphasis on this exhibit is on the arrival of Mother Seton and the White House, which was the original location where her educational organization began, and how it grew, and then there's several other secondary stories. One is on the cemetery and mortuary that are on the grounds, and then of course 100 or sometime later, 50 years later, following the Battle of Antietam, the sisters who traveled to Gettysburg to care for those soldiers who were wounded in battle. There also is a little sort of promotional piece on the right-hand side telling people that the museum and the basilica is open to the public and that maps and guides are available. And it's believed that, or it's hoped that this will be the first of two waysides. A second one would be done that would emphasize more the basilica and the museum.
Are there any questions or comments from the board related to the placard titled Historic St. Joseph's House?
I had none. I read through it several times. I know we look at these things very closely when they're presented to us. Nothing jumped out at me as to being inaccurate or questioning word use. I thought it was great.
Well, thank you. We worked very closely with the staff at the Seton Shrine, rather, on this. So, and went through a number of reviews with them.
We thank you for your review as well. So it was great to have that.
I'll throw in
these.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I look forward to looking at these. It's fun. Thanks.
Now these are very nice. I'm very happy to hear you worked with the archives on this. That's good to know. The one question I have, I'm in the first column. New construction and additional curriculum. Sorry, English is my first language. Pardon me. New construction and additional curriculum led to its becoming St. Joseph's College for Women. Do we want to say it's or it? And rest easy, that's the only one I have for this one.
For this one,
Correct.
We're happy to make that change if that would make you happy.
I just want to make sure we're good. Sure, that'd be great. I guess what I was getting at is in the line preceding it, it says St. Joseph's Academy and free school. So that's two things. And then it's, or is it they?
You know, it really is one entity. It really is
Okay.
one entity. I mean, that's where we're going with this. We went through a bunch of iterations of this copy with the Seaton Shrine. And so it evolved somewhat. But really what we're doing
No,
is
sure.
we're interpreting this house and trying to give some suggestion of what, you know, those original efforts led to, which you can kind of see in the background at the Academy.
No, I think you've captured that. I think you've captured that very effectively.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other comments on the Seaton exhibit?
Nope, I think we can go on.
Okay.
Just to explain this real quickly, we worked with both, excuse me, just one second. We worked with both Chip Joel and, of course, William Cochran on this exhibit. And I don't know, I kind of had a leg up on this one because I was involved in the this project when it happened in downtown Frederick back in 1989. And so we focused on why it was created and how it was created. And then, of course, ultimately its relocation to Emmitsburg, its placement there, and what a coup it is for the town and the museum.
Any questions from the board or concerns or any thoughts? I think we have tacit approval.
We'll take it.
Yeah, maybe we can move on unless someone else wants to throw in on this.
I like it. Let's move on. There, I just want to have something on record.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
The Emmitsburg Railroad, well, Ruth and I had a really good time with this one because it offers a glimpse or tries to create, you know, some interpretation for a major public utility, basically, in many ways, for the town of Emmitsburg that no longer is really visible at all. And so anyway, we special thanks to Lisa Elder again, who helped us with the images. But what we tried to do was create a little map with the stops, the different stations, to allow viewers a sense of, the journey that it would provide for you. And of course, the great service that it provided to the citizens of Emmitsburg and others in the region.
Any questions or concerns related to this one?
No questions or concerns. I love the Emmitsburg Railroad. It was my senior thesis at Mount St. Mary's as an undergrad. I was a history major. So that was an interesting topic. And actually, there is a piece, there is one piece that you can still see today, heading southbound, crossing Toms Creek on South Seton Avenue. If you look to your left, one of the stone trestles is still standing in the middle of the creek as it worked its way over to St. Joseph's College. And interestingly enough, not that you need to write it in here, I'm surprised the Daughters of Charity didn't put towards this one as well, because when the railroad first started, they were the majority stockholders in the company itself. I think they were one of the first all-women-owned company in the United States.
Oh, wow.
So
we do mention their majority stockholders in the copy. And actually,
did I overlook that? I'm so sorry.
It's all right. No, we tried to include the Toms Creek piece because we were aware of it. Someone made us aware of it, I should say. And it just, you can only put so much in here.
No, that's fine. But yeah, I would just point out there was that's the only thing still standing today. So
Those will be for the driving tour. Because on the other side of 15 by Creamery Road, you can see the telephone pole right of way still exists along the line. And
Yes.
you can see infrastructure for the abutments where it crossed creeks and fields. Some of those still are in place, and that utility right of way still is in use.
true.
So maybe that's our next step for the Ritz driving tour.
So did you say they were the first woman?
No, not the first, but it was probably one of the first. I mean, if you consider that they were the majority stockholders.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's something else out there in the country that was first, but just pointing that out.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that I totally overlooked that.
It's a great point.
Yeah, there it is right there. Sorry. Okay.
There's a lot of content.
Okay, any other questions or comments related to this one?
No.
No? Okay, all right. Let's move on to the Armstrong one, please.
Well, this was interesting because, there are no known images of John Armstrong, no portraits or photographs or things like that. And it's slightly unclear as to exactly where his house was. So we were we were struggling with this one a little bit, but we lucked out. We Googled, and it's amazing what you can find on Google. And we found this image among a couple of others from an auction house that was selling John Armstrong rifles. This organization's up in Pennsylvania, and then also had the incredible good fortune of running into meeting and getting the support of John Gable, who is who's very involved with the Pennsylvania Long Rifle Museum up in Pennsylvania, and actually has served as a consultant at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in their guns and artillery collection up there. And he helped us with a lot of this information. And so what we're attempting to do is to share as much as we know about John Armstrong, and then, of course, explain why the long rifle was so important in American history and that it's important for a span of almost 200 years.
Any comments or questions from the board?
I just have one question. It's not regarding the sign. I think the sign's great. I know we talked about earlier, it was going to be on East Main Street. I did find in some of my research a while back, Armstrong owned, several lots of land here in town, but his house, I believe, was located on East Main in the vicinity of where Granny's Attic store, and there's a reddish house nearby. Is that where we're placing this sign?
We were, may I interject, Mr. Donald?
Yes, sir, please do.
We thought it would, location was at Granny's Attic, and it's going to be in that vicinity, yes.
Good. I mean, that's where his house was, assuming that his shop was on his property where his house was. That is the general area. I mean, the house is not standing anymore, but it was in that area between those two lots.
And that's what we say in the Wayside, that he purchased the first of several lots, two of which are in front of you, presumably for the construction of his house and shop.
Great. And that's the spot that I was hoping that it was going to be, because I know there was some question at one time that his shop was on West Main Street, but I could not find anything regarding that.
We used maps. Maps were available, and also Michael helped us with that.
Oh, and he liked the east. He was the East Main location.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah. No, and there are maps that specify it.
Great.
that at least you own the properties.
Yes.
And the thought is that they came down during the Great Fire.
That makes sense. Okay. But I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent there. But the sign's great. Thank you.
Mr. Ritz, you're okay with that location and that proximity? I mean, you feel that's true to the history?
I do. I feel very
From your
comfortable with that. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any other questions or comments related to this one? So, hearing none, I'll jump in very quickly and very lightly, I will add. So I spoke to the curator of the NRA Museum who liked this. He shared information about the gun with profound knowledge. He knew what was presented, and he liked what he saw. He offered something that I don't think we're obligated to. He felt that the British musket could shoot 15 yards further than listed here, but he said this was passable. So I thought that was reassuring. Where he put a lot of energy into the discussion was the person to whom Armstrong was apprenticed, George Schroyer, who he said was born George Schreier. And he said Schroyer was famously illiterate, but brilliant with his hands. And he said he didn't feel that that had to be changed, but the question was, could somehow or another Schreier be put in there with parentheses or something? And I didn't know if that was that weighty. And then, and I'll stay neutral on that position for the board, I find out that I'm related to them. So I'll throw that out there.
So do you want O'Donnell on there too?
Only if it's under Sweeney, Burns, Briggs, Davis, and Ritz.
I was going to say, I
Other than
wasn't,
that, sir, no, thank you.
since he threw that in, I'm okay voting on it. But if it was just O'Donnell, I was going to have to say no.
I hope so.
Well, you know what, Commissioner O'Donnell, I mean, all I can say is that I spoke with, Ron Gable, reviewed all of this, and he really is truly an expert on long rifle. And so, I mean, all we know is what we're told, but suppose
I'm with you. I understand.
Would you like us to make the change in the graphic? I'm sorry, you had said the was it the British musket that?
No, I don't think there's any change needed there based on the historian's comment from the NRA Museum.
Oh, okay.
He felt that was acceptable, but he felt that it was a little shy. These good folks get very technical, as some of us do. So,
well, you know what
I
mean.
I think we're good.
If thank you very much, seriously, for running that past your
Yeah.
colleague at NRA.
Yeah.
And if those are the only suggestions that were made, we're feeling really good about it, because this was kind of out of our wheelhouse. This was kind of a different Wayside to do, particularly since there's not a whole lot of information about Armstrong.
Are there any other questions or comments related to the Armstrong item?
I'm fine with it.
Okay. So moving on, Ms. Willits, do we need a motion to accept them as, I guess, modified related to the one item?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
You can
Is
just
there a
accept them
motion?
collectively.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to is there a motion to accept the placards collectively as discussed?
I make a motion to accept the placards as modified as discussed.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second for the motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Motion has been made by Commissioner Burns, seconded by Commissioner Sweeney. Is there any further discussion?
I just want to say thank you to you all for this assignment this year. It was a difficult year, but these were an absolute pleasure to work on during this time. So we thank you for this opportunity.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's appreciated. Thank you. So call to vote. Hearing no other comments. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. The motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. Looking forward to seeing these throughout town and seeing our tour move forward. And the Ritz driving tour, Mr. Ritz. I want that.
I'm changing my vote then.
No, I want to read that paper. I bet it's awesome. Okay. We move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you all very much. Appreciate your time this evening. We move forward to agenda item number 2, review and approval of the preliminary engineering report and environmental report engineering contract for the DePaul Street and North Seaton Avenue waterline replacement projects for consideration. And this will be a presentation by staff tonight.
Yes, thank you. This is related to the proposed waterline work on DePaul Street and North Seaton Avenue. As we previously did with the pump station, we're going to be submitting for a grant through USDA that will pay for the preliminary engineering report and the environmental report. USDA has changed pretty much the way they do these reports now. They're looking at I call them the PER and the ER, and they look at it collectively as the entire waterline system. So when we do our preliminary engineering report and our environmental report this time, it will look at the water system as a whole with paying special attention to North Seaton Avenue and DePaul Street Avenue. So that will be good for us going forward as we continue to make improvements to our waterline system. So as if you recall, the board approved the bid packet for Macron for the PER and ER for North Seaton Avenue and DePaul Street in the amount of $25,000 at the November meeting. The document that you have before you, the EJCDC, is basically a contract between the town of Emmitsburg and Macron for these engineering services related to our water line and these 2 projects. It is something that is required by USDA to obtain any funding. So once we complete this document and once it's approved by the board, it'll get submitted to USDA for approval, and then Macron can begin their initial work on the preliminary reports. So just to highlight a few areas, this is for professional engineering services on the town's water system, as well as minor GIS work. The PER and ER are required for the town before we can pursue any funding with USDA. The contract was reviewed by Leslie Powell and deemed sufficient. It meets all the insurance coverage requirements. The town's required to pay. I'm just going to highlight some of the areas. It's a very large document. The invoice payment, town is required to pay within 30 days unless there's a disputed invoice, which is outlined in the contract. We can suspend the project up to 90 days upon 7 days written notice if, and then engineering may, after giving 7 days written notice to owner, suspend services under this agreement if we fail to pay. We can terminate the contract at any point with 30 days written notice in the event of substantial failure by the other party to perform in coordinates with the contract. There is a dispute resolution or clause in the contract as well. We have in the contract, or on page 23 where we're going over this, it says 120 days. The contractor felt with being in winter, there may be concerns with weather. So the contract was extended to 150 days as opposed to 120 days. And again, the project cost is $25,000. And Macron is willing to begin work as soon as the contract's approved and not request any payment until we secure the USDA funding. So that the grant process will take about 4 to 5 months as well. And that's basically the highlight of the document. It's the same standard document that you approved for RK&K with the pump station. It's USDA's template. And that's
Are
all
there
I
any
have.
questions for, sorry, are there any questions for staff related to this?
No, I mean,
No?
I just had that today, read through it as good as I could. So nothing, I don't really have anything. So if anyone else does.
Okay. Mr. Sweeney, anything, sir?
No, I'm fine with it.
Terrific. Ms. Willis, just for clarification, in the big picture, essentially we're doing, is this the design work or is this an evaluation of the system? And then we go to design work and then we go to the construction?
Right, correct.
Okay.
So this is the preliminary, your preliminary engineering report, and your preliminary environmental report, where they'll look at the aspects of the water line, look at the water system as a whole, and basically USDA then will review it for substantial, does this meet their requirements for this kind of project? Are we following all the environmental needs? And then once this is approved, once the PER and ER are approved by USDA, then we'll have to put out the bid for design. And then once it goes to design, then USDA approves the design, then it can be put out to bid for construction. If you recall, we started working on the pump station 2 years ago and we still haven't broke ground. So unfortunately, when you're talking about federal funding, it is a long process.
So we're in sort of a 3-year plus window to get this completed. Is that fair to say?
Probably. I think that's fair.
Based on what we've seen. I don't mean to, I don't want to tie you to that.
Right.
Okay. I
Right.
think what I'm getting at and what I shared with you earlier is there was a lot of attention given to the water line and the quality of water the town was delivering to the final user. And this is tremendous progress in a short period of time. Staff has really knocked it out of the park, it seems, by moving this forward so quickly. But it puts us in that process where we're getting the best evaluation, hopefully the best design, and then the best construction in order to have the best outcome for our community. So,
Well,
and I felt that that's important.
If you recall, yes, related to that water quality, we did make some significant repairs, which has immensely helped the water quality. But if the board will recall, we jumped right on this with MDE a year and a half ago. Maddie can tell you the exact date. And unfortunately, MDE denied us funding for these water lines. So again, we were set back well over a year to begin the process. So there's continued frustration, obviously, with the lack of funding we're getting from the state.
Certainly, and that's
we
understandable.
We are making good progress. Very good progress.
Correct. Yeah, this is huge. Okay, so you're looking therefore now for the town to accept the contract. Is that correct?
Right. So you're accepting basically the preliminary engineering report, environmental report, engineering contract for DePaul Street, North Seaton Avenue waterline replacement. Or, I mean, to make it simple, you can do the approval of the EJCDC contract for DePaul Street, North Seaton Avenue waterline. And I probably just confused you more.
Yeah, I'm going with what's written down, and it's a little bit easier for me. Okay, therefore, is there a motion related to accepting the preliminary engineering report and environmental report engineering contract for the DePaul Street and North Seaton Avenue water line replacement projects?
Yep, I'll make that a motion.
Thank you, sir. Motion's been made by Commissioner Davis. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second that.
Thank you, sir. The motion's been made by Commissioner Davis and seconded by Commissioner Ritz. Is there any further discussion at this time? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any nays? The motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank
We
you.
now turn to, very welcome. We now turn to agenda item number 3. We will be holding a public hearing and consideration of adoption of proposed ordinance 2021-01, subdivision amendment, parks, rec, open space requirements for consideration. Mr. Golden, for clarification purposes, do you want me to open the hearing at this point now?
Yes, please.
Okay, so public hearing on January 11th, 2021. The meeting to discuss proposed ordinance 21-01 has now started. We'll move to a staff presentation, after which we will have questions from the board, after which we will seek public comment in our meeting tonight, after which we will close the public comment, we will have deliberation, and then we'll seek a motion to end the public hearing. So that's our sequence. We've called the hearing, and now we turn to staff for the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this public hearing was advertised in the Frederick News Post on December 15th, 2020. The purpose of the public hearing is to take public comment on proposed ordinance 21-01, which would amend Title 16, Section 16-16-100, which is currently called required recreation areas to be dedicated. The amendment would require all new residential developments proposing 5 or more dwelling units dedicate public or private parkland or pay a fee in lieu of the dedication. Town staff presented the proposed ordinance at the December 8th, 2020 Board of Commissioners meeting, in which they forwarded the ordinance to the Planning Commission for review and comment. At their meeting held on December 28th, 2020, the Planning Commission recommended approval of proposed ordinance 21-01 with the following comments. The Planning Commission agrees with a recommended town parkland goal of 10 acres for every 1,000 residents. 2, the Planning Commission recommends a single paved trail and not a 2-trail system. 3, the Planning Commission agrees with the recommended fee in lieu of $1,200 per dwelling unit. And 4, the Planning Commission recommends updating Section 16-16-100D to require private parkland to meet the requirements of 16-16-100D3A through I, which we did work with the town attorney and we've made minor adjustments to that section. Town staff has updated the ordinance based on the Planning Commission's feedback. We have received 1 public comment by email to date. Mr. Bob Meller of 3 University Drive has expressed his support of natural surface trails alongside paved paths. More information, just quickly, more information on that Planning Commission recommended update. Basically, it states that private parkland must have the same requirements as the public parkland. For example, you can't have over, I believe it's 20% wetlands. You know, you need so many parking spaces, etc. So both will have equal duties. So that's everything I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. So we now turn to commissioners for questions. Are there any questions for staff from board members?
I have none.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Davis, any questions? Thank you. Mr. Ritz, any questions? No, sir. Okay, thank you. Mr. Burns, any questions?
Just one quick question for Mr. Golden. I know Mr. Golden and I spoke about Emmett Ridge, and obviously there's been a lot of people that have questioned and things of that nature. What if any, are our guidelines along these in comparison to other towns in Frederick County or even Howard County? Is it scaring potential developers away in any way, shape, or form? Are we on pace with what everybody else in the area is doing as far as those lands being designated for use?
Sure, that's actually a very good question. I think it would have really scared away developers if we kept the 25 acres for every 1,000 residents. That would have caused a significant burden on these developers, especially for Emmett Ridge that has a very small area. But moving it to 10-acre goal for every 1,000 residents, that creates more of what President O'Donnell was trying to accomplish here was the pocket park. It's a little bit over 1 acre, which I think is very appropriate. And the state and MML and county planning commissions agree that this is an appropriate ordinance for our size town. So to answer your question, I do not think this will burden them more than anything else. I think it's pretty appropriate.
Perfect. I know with the land obviously that we have still available in town and the future possible land developments, the last thing we want to do is scare anybody away. So if it's in agreement with MML and the other areas, then I think it's great.
Thank you.
Mr. Golden, the sum of the $1,200 in lieu of, is that also in alignment with other communities, what their ask is?
Yes. So what we did, I reached out to MML and I also reached out to all the county planners, Frederick County planners, and this is basically average throughout the state. What I did discuss with the mayor and Kathy is at some point we're recommending we do a fee audit, basically for all of our fees, for town taps, water taps, sewer taps, park fee, and that we also have a $1,200 impact fee. A lot of other municipalities in Frederick County and throughout the state are doing these audits, and they'll be able to give you an exact number, which is appropriate for the construction costs in our area, in particular for this ordinance. $1,200, that's average, but we don't know based on construction costs if we're actually getting a deal there or not. So we need to really pin it down onto our town and into our area, into our economy. So we'll be bringing that hopefully back at the next year's budget. So I hope to revisit this later.
Thank you, sir. And for clarification, the adjustment that was referenced regarding private parkland to align with this that's being proposed now,
Yes.
is that adjustment language in this document, or is that something that we'll see forthcoming?
That's in this document.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so it's going to be under section D, which is on page 28.
Okay.
Number 3. So originally it was a little bit confusing to the planning commission. They thought that was more geared towards just the public parkland. However, we reworded it just a little bit to make sure that it's very clear that these specifications A through I needs to be for public and private. So it's just a little bit more protection for the town.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the clarification.
Mm-hmm.
Any other staff questions? Sorry, any other board questions for staff?
Actually, I do have one.
Mr. Ritz.
Just to make sure, because I looked through it and it wasn't jumping up.
Mr. Ritz, if you could speak up, that would be helpful.
Are you there? Okay. Just for clarification, because I couldn't see it, the Planning Commission recommended the single trail rather than the two-trail system. Does the ordinance take that into consideration?
Yes, it does. It just has the single trail.
Okay.
Their main concern with that was, their research and my research show that the double trail is more geared towards horses and mountain bikers for the non-paved section. So they didn't think it would be appropriate for our town.
Okay.
And that was something, Mr. Ritz, that I had spoken to a physician about, and her recommendation was also appropriate for runners and walkers because the softer natural surface trail is there's less pounding on the body.
Okay.
So that was my goal and my intent, and I am disappointed that the mayor and staff weren't aligned with that. But if this is the board's decision, I will certainly abide by it. But I can't say I'm pleased by it.
Gotcha.
I think one of the things we took into consideration also was to try not to burden these developers also with these additional costs of adding additional, one thing that we're trying to do is encourage these developers to come in and not overburden them with the requirements. And this was one of the ones that we felt would add more cost to already a costly endeavor for most developers anyway. So that was also taken into consideration. It wasn't just the horse and walkers.
Okay, any other comments or questions from the board for staff? Ms. Willetts, thank you. Sorry, don't mean to be curt. Any other comments? I think we can move forward. Is that fair to say, commissioners? Okay, with that in mind, do we have any public comment related to this?
No.
Other than the gentleman who weighed in favor of it?
That's all I received, and I haven't received any other emails for tonight.
Okay, so, but there's nobody here right now who's waiting to comment on this? I guess what I'm getting at is I'm looking at my Zoom tiles. I see individuals outside of the board, so I just want to make sure. Okay, so moving forward, at this time, if no one has anything more to present, the board comment period, the public comment period is now closed. Now we open the matter for discussion, and that is for our board. Okay, so commissioners, I turn to you. Do you have any concerns? Anything you want to see modified related to what's been put in front of us from this recommendation?
I have none.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ritz?
I have none.
Oh, you have none. I'm sorry. Mr. Davis, you're good. Okay. Mr. Burns, are you okay to move forward, or any comments?
I'm fine with it. I like it.
Okay. Thank you. So at this time, we'll close deliberations, and I need a motion at this time to end the public hearing.
I make a motion to end the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Is there a second for Mr. Sweeney's motion?
I second it.
Seconded made by Commissioner Burns. Is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, we move forward. We return to the agenda item itself. Mr. Golden, do you now need the board to vote on accepting this as presented? Is that correct?
Yes, please.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so we've had our hearing. We've had our opportunities for discussion. Everyone has weighed in, I believe. So at this time, is there a motion to accept the Ordinance 2021-01 Subdivision Amendment Parks Rec Open Space Requirements at this time?
I'll make a motion to.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second for Mr. Ritz's motion?
I'll second that.
Thank you. The motion's been made by Mr. Ritz. It's been seconded by Commissioner Burns. Is there any further discussion at this time? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. The motion carries 5-0. Thank you. We move forward. Now we turn, sorry. To agenda item number 4, increasing multi-user trail access during non-major hunting season and allowing access of electric bicycles on the multi-user trails for discussion and consideration. Presentation by myself. All right. So the goal of this is to expand trail user access that would not compromise deer and turkey hunting seasons, meaning that it would not include those seasons for more access times. The other piece is to allow pedal-assisted bicycles, electric pedal-assisted electric bicycles on the trails. The dates would be determined annually in accord with the Department of Natural Resources determination of the hunting seasons. The pedal-assist bicycle piece I'll share, and I'll try not to bore you. The industry has created 3 classes of electric bicycles. Class 1 is called pedal assist, and it has a top speed for that bicycle that could be assisted to move up to 20 miles per hour, which is not an uncommon speed for a bicycle on a trail. Class 2 is pedal assist that has a throttle. So that would be similar to a motorbike, and that is not what is being sought. Again, that would be an electric engine. Class 3 is a pedal assist bicycle, and these Class 3 bikes tend to be road bicycles with the ram's horn drop handlebars, or hybrid bicycles that combine mountain and road bike features. And these can reach speeds of up to 28 miles per hour. These would not be allowed either. In reference to where these are already allowed, the federal government allows these on certain lands. They're allowed in certain parks and in certain counties in Northern Virginia. I have heard from about 28 people in our area. Sorry, 32 people in our area have kind of weighed in on it. I've heard related to the e-bikes, 2 who are against their access. The other 26 are very much in favor of them. And regarding just increased access calendar-wise to the trails, 32 in favor, just consistently, with no one speaking, against it. And I did hear from some hunters who don't see the conflict with that. Moving from there, there are staff notes, and I'll ask staff, does staff want to present these, or do you want me to just summarize them from the agenda item?
You can just summarize them.
Okay. The main hunting seasons would be deer and turkey in the watershed. Deer season usually begins early September and ends around the end of January. There are multiple seasons and multiple means of hunting, i.e. rifle season, bow season, muzzle loading season. Turkey season is usually mid-April to late May. There's little to no small game or fur bearer hunting in the watershed areas, and these make up the gap times. I'll reference them. If trails are open daily, February through April, which is what we're considering potentially, we will need, according to staff would suggest a modification to hunting rules that are presented to the hunters to inform hunters of this, and or make hikers wear bright colors while they're out there. In 2021, trails could potentially be open 7 days a week between January 31st and April 16th. And that's the comment here. Regarding endorsements, I have an endorsement from the Frederick Bicycle Coalition in favor of these, from the Moore organization in favor of these. Moore wants to add that they defer to any decision made by the land manager, which in this case would be us and town staff. And a number of shops in the area, including Gettysburg Bicycle and Fitness in Pennsylvania nearby, and the Bicycle Escape in Frederick, have submitted letters of endorsement for both of these ideas. The 2 individuals who were against allowing pedal assist bicycles, their view is it's unnecessary. So to summarize that. So I did hear from those who were opposed to it as well. And at that, I'll turn to the board if there are any questions related to this. If I've been unclear, I'm sorry. I'm happy to try to clarify.
The one thing that, Commissioner, that I would add is the only problem that we currently have is that when you come in to get your hunting license or your hunting permit, your permit lasts the duration of your hunting license. So it's not a calendar year. So they're not issued January 1 to December 31st. So the difficulty is going to be getting the word out to ones that may already possess their license and know that hunting may or may not be permitted during this time any longer. So I think there would have to be some sort of campaign or signage or both to get the word out in an effort to protect anybody that would be on the trails. And then the other thing that I was looking at was, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please. Sorry.
That if you look at the page 37 of the hunting, it does look like you might be able, if we got rid of some of the other, it's really, the lighting is poor in my house, by the way. After turkey season ends on May 24th, you are open until, like, you got raccoon and possum at August 1st. But if you didn't have raccoon and possum, then you're good until October. So I think there's ways to expand it outside of just that April or the January 31st to April 16th. But if we want to just start with this first period and see how that goes, if that makes any sense.
Sure, that sounds very promising. And I agree, educating both our hunters and our hikers and other trail users, it's imperative just to understand for everyone's benefit and safety. So as part of that, and again, it kind of turns to amenities, it just underlines the need for kiosks on site, like at trailheads, but also a question I have for the issuance of the hunting licenses. Is there a set time when they universally expire? That's something I didn't find in my research. Like, it's not like a January 1 to December 31st kind of thing. Okay.
Right, and I forgot to ask Terry. Terry Ray processes most of them. Maddie might be able to chime in, but it's my understanding our permits are issued based off when your license expires. So if I were to come in and my license goes from April 1st, 2021 till April 1st of 2022, I think my permit would then expire on the April 1st, 2022. I don't believe it's calendar year. And I think you can go get your hunting license at any point.
So if, I guess I don't like this term, like our education point or control point, however you want to frame it, would be when the individual, say starting in June, were to come in for their permit. If we were to say that would be a start point when we introduce new policy, maybe that's how we address it for both user or for all user groups, the hikers, the walkers, the cyclists, the hunters.
I mean, you could start with some signage up at the trails and telling them, maybe check the website, check the town for updates on hunting schedule or trail schedule. I do know that we submitted, or we are getting ready to submit, and I know Maddie's in there, for a kiosk up at Rainbow Lake that we could put all this information on, and that would also be beneficial. We are looking at updating our hunting permit going forward anyway, because there's things that we want to make changes on. Yeah, it would just be a matter of getting the word out. Word of mouth is probably the best thing that we could do.
Well, that would be excellent if that can happen. Yes, it can. The kiosk thing, the RTP grants, I know, it's like poison ivy talking about that. But the RTP grants do allow that type of infrastructure to be paid for through that matching grant program. And I would like to pursue that with more, the organization, and see if I can get them to manage that kind of a grant. But I don't want to do it. I don't want to go through the hoops again and get shut down. I've already walked away with a $30,000 grant that we had to remit back to the state. So my hope is we can have that conversation at a better time. But there is money out there that we can pay for a lot of this infrastructure, like the kiosks.
Oh, yeah, we did submit for the grant. Yeah.
Okay, but for one, what I'm saying is there's 6 trailhead points. We could have one at each entry point. That's kind of what I'm getting at. And certainly we've got the staple points where I put up the Sundays only information. Okay, I'm sorry. Regarding the commission, are there questions from the board related to these items?
I had my one question is, this is for consideration this evening. What exactly are we considering? There's there's no ordinance or policy. Is this to go forward to put this as official, something in writing? I mean, how are we going to enforce this? You can't hear me, can you?
No, I
Well,
can. I'm
Right. You're very correct. You're absolutely correct, Commissioner Ritz. As we went back to try to look for any policies or any guidelines, because right now we're dealing with issues regarding tree stands on town property, and there is no policy. And it may be that the board wants to give staff direction. Now would be a perfect time to do it, to develop a policy that addresses trail usage, the dates when, and then if the board also wants to allow the pedal assist bicycles, and all this should be in writing, and it should be done as a policy that we don't have right now.
I assumed as such. I was just making sure. I didn't know exactly what we were doing with this consideration this evening.
And what I'm basing my action on is there are existing signs on at Rainbow Lake that identify allowed and not allowed uses. Like one can't allow their pet to go into Rainbow Lake. You can't put a boat into Rainbow Lake. No motorized vehicle. Access ends at sunset. It begins, I guess, at the start of the day. That's what I was trying to use as my guideline.
Okay.
So.
Right. Some of those, you know, the closing at sunset, that's part of a park policy that all the parks close at sunset. But to actually have it, all of that encompassed in a policy, you know, it might be, you know, beneficial for us to have a, I don't want to call it a Rainbow Lake policy, but a policy that governs activities at Rainbow Lake or at the watershed or whatever you want to call it. And then we can then sit there and outline, you know, you can't set specific dates for hunting because that's determined by DNR. But you could also then outline, you know, the pedal assist bicycles. Then we can outline our guidelines on tree stands and things of that nature. And this would be the appropriate time to do it.
Yeah, I would definitely support that idea of, I guess, framing use of town land.
Right.
Would that be a fair way to kind of cast a broad net on it?
I would act something along those lines. We could certainly come up with an appropriate title, you know, activities, prohibited activities, or guidelines or guidance or rules and regulations, things, something along that line.
Okay, so I guess, Mr. Ritz, does that help frame the conversation better, your concerns?
Sure. I was just wondering where we were going with it. I guess, you know, if the policy is written too, I still question. I'm not questioning your seeking to exclude class 2 and 3 pedal assist bikes. I'm just curious to know how we're going to enforce that. I guess with nothing now, do people actually use such bikes on the trails? Okay. And yes. By putting this policy in, it will ensure that only class 1 pedal assist bikes are used and 2 and 3 would be excluded. But again, even though it's town land, you know, I guess it would be those who are using the trail be on the lookout for it. I just don't know how we would enforce it. It's not like Miss Nell's going to be up there doing her thing up on the trails, checking out pedal assist bikes.
Typically, when someone is acting out of bounds on the trail, I'll get an email or someone will, you know, put something up on Facebook.
So DNR periodically goes up on the mountain to enforce their side of the rules. The deputies have been known to also go up there, and people are tattletales. we do get a lot of complaints about behavior, whether it's, predominantly it's the hunting complaints, but we've gotten other complaints, the boating in the lake and people jumping off the building into the lake. So, I mean, people do complain, and we do have some sort of enforcement options that are available to us. If we do write a policy, then enforcement is easier also, because right now we have to rely on the deputies or DNR.
Okay.
And it's to protect the town for liability also. If we say this X, Y, and Z behavior is not acceptable, it's not permissible on town property, and you go there and you do it anyway, there's less backlash on the town. I'm big on liability.
Exactly. And it's, safety aspect too for those who are using the trail as well. I can see where Commissioner O'Donnell's going with that as well. So, I support pursuing an official policy to bring back to the board at a later date. Do you need a motion then to state that? I don't know how to word it.
Yes. If that's what the board chooses, yes.
I know Commissioner O'Donnell presented this to us.
You can actually, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Commissioner O'Donnell presented it. I know him. He probably won't want to make the motion, but he'd probably word it better.
You can just make a motion to direct staff to develop a policy related to rules and regulations related to hunting and recreational activities in the Rainbow Lake area.
What we frame it as recreational land use?
I would do hunting and land use.
Okay. So Mr. Ritz or Mr. Sweeney? Any questions? Mr. Sweeney, I saw you lean in.
No, I don't have any. I'm all for the policy. I don't think too many people hunt raccoons and possums in August. So not that I know anymore. But I believe a policy will help out.
Sure. Mr. Ritz, could I encourage you to make that motion?
I make a motion that town staff develop a policy regarding recreational land use and hunting in the and let me rephrase that. I'm sorry. I take that back. I'll make a motion for town staff to develop a policy regarding recreational land use and hunting as presented in this meeting. Well, that's
Ms. Willis, will that satisfy?
I know, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a second for the motion made by Commissioner Ritz?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, sir. The motion has been made by Commissioner Ritz, seconded by Commissioner Burns. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. The motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Ms. Willits, thank you. We now turn to our next item, which is the agenda for our February meeting.
I have a couple of items. I have two administrative business items. The first will be a proclamation in recognition of Keith Swerdeck's service to the town of Emmitsburg for consideration. I have under admin filing of the 2020 annual and 5-year mid-cycle planning commission reports. Consent agenda, appointment of Glenn Blanchard to the Planning Commission. Number 2, appointment of Deborah Hobbs to the Ethics Commission. And then agenda items. Number 1 will be the fiscal year 2021 budget overview. Number 2 will be the approval of Ordinance 21 2020-02 vendor license updates for consideration. And finally, number 3, the North Seaton Avenue Green Street conceptual plan presentation and approval for consideration. I will shoot to have your policy for March,
Thank
the one
you.
we just discussed.
Thank you. Any other items from the board related to the agenda for February 1st, 2021?
No, but I have a comment because when it comes to the consent agenda, I know we're discouraged from commenting. So I just wanted to point out, for transparency's sake, Mr. Blanchard is currently on the Parks and Recreation Committee. And I know we've had discussion on this in the past. Can somebody be on 2 committees?
Yes.
And I believe we had a lot of discussion, and the town attorney got involved and stated that as long as there was no conflict of interest. So my understanding is that
Correct.
Mr. Blanchard, currently on the parks, can continue to serve on the parks and the planning commission. There would not be a conflict of interest. And I just wanted to point that out.
You're correct. You're correct.
Thank you.
The only conflict would be, is from what I understand, is the Board of Appeals and the Planning Commission. You cannot
would be a
serve on
biggie right
those
there.
2
Yeah,
at the same
definitely.
time, as well as the
Okay.
ethics.
Ms.
Okay,
Willis,
thank you.
regarding your proposal for the agenda regarding vendor licenses updating, have we come to the sunset of the last one, or are we modifying it like with food trucks, or what brought this on? Just curiously.
This is pretty much your door-to-door
Okay.
vendor licenses, and the amount of complaints that we have received, it's just to update it. It gives us a little bit more, we have to do a little bit more investigating into it. It's not as easy to just hand these licenses out. There's certain requirements now. So it's just updating that.
Terrific. Thank you. That's appreciated. Okay, so I don't think we've heard anything from the board regarding adding any other agenda items. So moving forward, is there a motion to accept these as presented?
I'll make a motion to accept the February agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, sir. A motion's been made by Commissioner Ritz, seconded by Commissioner Sweeney. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Any other things we need from staff or the mayor related to tonight's meeting?
No,
No,
just
but
one
can I
more.
make?
Oh, I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mr. Davis.
Just one more thing. I forgot to mention it during comments. I was talking to one of the council members in Gettysburg today, and they are really, really struggling over there. And I'd just like to commend the staff for keeping us both on track and physically and financially responsible through all this COVID. The last year, Gettysburg, for example, they depend on, a lot of their budget is on parking meters and hotel fees. And their opinion was, we'll always have that. Well, they didn't have that, to the point where they're going to be laying police officers off, and they've cut back on staff and things like that. So I'd just like to thank our staff for doing what they're doing and keeping us running. So.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
here. Thank you, sir. Mr. Burns?
Completely off topic, and just more of I want to commend Commissioner Ritz on that really strong beard game that he has going on right now. I know he's taken the time during this COVID pandemic to really work on that. It looks far above anything I could grow myself, and I think we should be very proud that he's doing that.
Thank you.
The town so well.
This is nothing. I have trimmed it. I made 2 New Year's resolutions. One was to be a better person, and 2 is to not cut my hair or beard. And I failed miserably on the first one on January 2nd. No, I'm just kidding about the hearing. I'm gonna trim it. I'm gonna trim it one day, but
Where's this going?
but thank you. I'm just lazy.
Hey, it's the beard flannel combo. Very, very hip. Okay. Is there a motion to close the meeting?
I make a motion to close the meeting at 9:28.
Thank you. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second.
All in favor of the meeting closing motion, please say aye.
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 Aye. The motion carries 5-0. The meeting closes at 9:28 on January 11th, 2021. Thank you all. Happy
Thank
New Year.
you.
Good night.
Bye.
And for the record, I didn't have the football game on, just so you know.
Very good.